Am I in frame?
Yep.
You know, the only thing I could think of when Ahsoka revealed that the child's name was Grogu. Are you going to say what? Do you want to know what I was thinking?
I do want to know what you were thinking.
I was thinking Grogu and Grogu was his name. Oh,
Oh, I'm just all day. I've been like, Goku? No, I all day could not think of the name. It
I'm
kind of
glad I
makes
had
me
the
think.
subtitles on because when she first said it, I'm like, what did she say? Grogu.
Well, welcome everyone to episode 13 review of The Mandalorian. We are, Sean, peak Mandalorian. What we waited for all season long is here. The rest of the season is going to be a dud. That's just my hot take because we've already hit Ahsoka. And not to get ahead of ourselves, but I don't think we're going to see Ahsoka again. So
First of all, I want everyone to go back to last week's Dads of Dagobah episode when I predicted that Ahsoka would not want anything to do with this child
that's true. You did say
and
that.
that she would direct the Mandalorian to take him to the Jedi Temple Academy that Luke Skywalker himself would be
No, that's
studying.
not what she said.
That's not what she said, but that's what I said would happen. And it's a possibility that she is leading it down that way because, not to jump the gun on all the questions from all this, but who else is going to sense little Grogu on the Seer Stone at the old Jedi Temple ruins on, was it Thyron? What was it?
Something like that.
Other than Luke Skywalker or Ezra Bridger. Those are the only two Jedi I could even.
Leia,
Is Leia? I guess Leia. You're right.
rude. Sean,
You're
Leia.
right.
I
Rise
think
of
Ben
one of
Solo
the
has
great
also
things.
been born by now.
One of the great things that Rise of Skywalker gave us was the knowledge that Leia has had some Jedi training, but she put down her lightsaber and did not follow that path. So I would not necessarily call Leia a Jedi.
I think that The Last Jedi gave us a better depiction of her Jedi powers, thus solidifying The Last Jedi being the best Star Wars movie. There, I
Okay,
said it. I said it. I got my get little bingo card out for episodes of Dads of Dagobah and check off Joseph going on about Last Jedi because that's the best movie in the whole thing.
okay, but if we're gonna split hairs, I would just say that Last Jedi did show us her Force powers, but having Force powers and being able to wield the Force does not make you a Jedi. All right. So it wasn't her Jedi power, it was her Force powers.
So you're saying you left episode 8, left the theater thinking she's not a Jedi.
That's exactly what I thought. I thought she's either a gray Jedi or Mary Poppins. I'm not sure which one.
Oh, let's stop talking about The Last Jedi because I could go on for hours. Okay, Sean, I got some questions for you. Let's just start at
It's
the beginning. The beginning, we get Ahsoka right off the bat.
right off the bat. I wasn't expecting it.
What did you think of getting her right then and there?
I kind of liked the approach of let's rip the band-aid off, not do some sort of dramatic reveal, like even though that opening sequence intro was pretty dramatic in the sense that it was a pretty cool scene in my opinion. I
Oh
thought
yeah,
it was awesome.
seeing the white lightsabers.
Disappearing in and out of the fog was super cool visual effect obviously. Seeing that she has her dual lightsabers still and they're white, like all that kind of stuff, I think is pretty good. And I will say, I know there's quite a few people I've heard tell me, or even I've seen on the internet, people wanting to have had a situation like we had in Solo, a Star Wars story, which is one of the better Star Wars movies. And if you have your bingo card out for Dads of Dagobah episodes, check off that Sean plugs Solo, a Star Wars story. Um, but in Solo, with the Darth Maul cameo, as we all know and we've discussed before, Ray Park still is the embodiment of Darth Maul, but they used Sam Witwer's voice, like because he voiced the character in the animated series Clone Wars and Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that some people wanted Ashley, has her last name Eckstein or
Eckstein.
Eckstein, yeah, who voices Ahsoka in the animated series, for her to still be the voice. Didn't sound like that to me. I think Rosario Dawson clearly was voicing the character and acting as the character. But I thought that it didn't throw me off. The voice almost sounded similar. I thought she did a pretty good job um, with the.
It didn't seem like she was trying to imitate it, though. It seemed like she kind of had, and not even like her own take, but just it sounded good enough. Like you were kind of, I was kind of half expecting incorrectly the kind of the teenage Padawan, the kind of a high pitched voice, but I thought it was totally fine, totally believable, sucked me in right from the get go, and I had no disbelief.
Yeah, no, I liked it. That opening scene was really good. Um, I thought it was a good reveal for Ahsoka. She's clearly still at the height of her power, and although I will have something to say about later on in the episode, Ahsoka's ability and power, but in that intro, I thought she was great. Great depiction, great introduction. I loved all of it.
I don't want to get into this can of worms, but we see her at the end of Rebels, which is right before Rogue One, and now we see her in The Mandalorian right after, well, 7 years after the fall of the Empire. Where was she during all the other things that happened?
Well, I thought that at the end of Rebels, it made me think that, so the end of Rebels happens, that's the latest, chronologically, that's the latest we've seen her. Because
Yes.
the end of Rebels happens shortly before The
Battle
Mandalorian.
of Scarif. Yes.
No, no, no. Scarif happens before the original trilogy. The end of Rebels happens. Oh, wait. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, right before Scarif.
But then there's an epilogue part, though, where after the Empire falls, Sabine is talking about.
Oh, right. Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. When
Okay.
Ahsoka shows up in that final scene to get Sabine and go find Ezra, that's after the Return of the Jedi has ended.
It is?
I thought it was. I thought in that little monologue that Sabine does, she talks about how the Empire fell and we
Yes.
did win
Yes.
the war and
And
all
we
this
see her
stuff.
kid, and her kid is okay. Yes.
Yeah. So that's the last we've seen Ahsoka is after original trilogy, after Return of the Jedi, she goes with Sabine to go look for Ezra. So that's only a few years or 7 years before what we just watched.
True. Okay, you're right. So yes. So that and I guess that kind of answers my question. Does she say in the epilogue what she was doing? She was just
No,
off looking for him.
I think that they only leave it at they went to go look for him. But I think what we see in this episode of her still tracking down
Thrawn.
Thrawn,
Hmm.
Grand Admiral Thrawn, makes me think
She hasn't found him yet.
she hasn't found him, or they did find them, but then Thrawn escaped and they're still, I don't know. I don't think that's it though. I think she's still looking for them.
Yeah.
But this also introduces, well, if Ahsoka's here on this planet Corvus looking for information on Thrawn, where is Sabine? And will we see Sabine in The Mandalorian, since Sabine is a Mandalorian and is tied to Ahsoka looking for Ezra?
Yeah.
This
Oh.
brings up a question for me though, and I don't know if you want to go chronologically through the episode, but a question for me with all of this and that reveal was, do you want the Mandalorian to get that connected to shows like Rebels? like the plot of Rebels and the plot of Mandalorian intertwining like that? Do you want the Mandalorian to become a we see Sabine and we find Ezra and all of that type of stuff, or do you want it to keep it separate?
I do not mind having people show up. I don't think, well, I don't want, and I also don't think this is going to be a hunt for Ezra in the end. I think, and after this episode, I realized I think it's also happening with Boba Fett. We are not going to see Boba Fett again in The Mandalorian. We are not going to see Ahsoka or Thrawn or Ezra or those people again. This is Disney Plus putting out little spin-off series left and right because they have rumored started filming or started casting for a Boba Fett spin-off. So I think they're just getting us ready for that. And I'm sure after today's episode, they're like, they probably already have it greenlit, or they may soon announce or let it leak that there is an Ahsoka spinoff happening or something similar. I think they're just using The Mandalorian to launch other series, which I'm all for.
Hmm. I don't know. I feel like we went down this rabbit hole once before with they were going to do all these spin-off standalone movies and all those projects got halted.
It's true. It's true.
um, and so, I mean, look at even how long ago did they announce the Obi-Wan TV show? And it's because of the pandemic mostly, it's been pushed back. And I feel like
Well,
that's
actually, they with the Obi-Wan, they stopped writing. They threw out all the script. They had like a 6 episode or eight
that's right.
episode miniseries, and they threw it all out. And they started from what I understand, started all over.
Yeah. So anyway, I would be surprised if it turns into a Boba Fett spin-off show, Ahsoka spin-off show, all of that kind of stuff. But I could be wrong. I mean, I obviously would watch all of it.
Okay, let me ask you this: are we going to see Boba Fett again in The Mandalorian?
I think that we may see him like season 3. Maybe it'll be next season before we see him, but it's looking more and more likely to me that we won't see him in the next 3 episodes to close out this season.
Okay, are we going to see Ahsoka again in The
I
Mandalorian?
uh, um I based off of how this chapter 13, the Jedi ended, I would say no. I think it wrapped it up pretty nicely with a bow on it that she helped and now like she doesn't really have any other purpose left
Yeah.
because she's made it pretty clear that she's not going to train Grogu and she's given Mando all the information he needs to continue his quest. So I don't really see what purpose she would serve to continue to be in the show.
Which leads me to think I don't think they put Ahsoka in for a 35, 40-minute episode just as a minor plot point. Same with Boba Fett. I don't think they throw him in for a 5-second cameo as a this is fun. I think there's other things at work.
Yeah, that's true. That's possible. I think that Ahsoka and Boba Fett are different though, because Ahsoka, her cameo was much more substantial than Boba Fett. We didn't actually tie up or answer any questions about Boba Fett.
That's true. That's also true.
There aren't any other lingering questions about Ahsoka for me now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the lingering question is, okay, where's Ezra and Thrawn?
Yeah, that's true.
But I don't think that's going to be answered in The Mandalorian. But I'm glad we brought this up because these are a bunch of the questions I had. We're not. I don't think we're going to see them at least in this season. So I agree with you there. Can we talk about the name Grogu?
Sure.
First of all, I didn't expect to find out the name, so that was interesting.
What, you hated it or what?
I think it'll grow on me.
Yeah. I was a little bit surprised when it was revealed. And like I said, I was like, I'm glad I had the subtitles on because I read it and it registered better when I read it because I was like, what did she just say? Grogu? And And I think it'll like anything, I'll just get used to it and it'll be fine at some point. But it did sound a little weird. I was like, really? Okay, that's the name. That's what and all the creative powers at Disney and Lucasfilm, and that's what they came up with.
It doesn't even like. Is it a cute name?
I don't have a strong opinion on it either way. It's not a bad name, but I don't think it's like a cute name either.
Yeah.
I mean, like we said, we only had a sample size of Yoda and Yaddle. So I guess they couldn't do a Y name. That would just be too much. A name that started with a Y. But I don't know. It's fine.
Um, the telepathic conversation they had with each other, interesting, but we learn a few things, very interesting things that open up a whole lot more questions, I feel like, and they are, as you can see for our backgrounds, what in the world is going on at the Jedi Temple that they had a little baby Grogu who survived Anakin's purge? And who was this Jedi that saved him?
Yeah, that tons of questions around that whole scene. First of all, that was probably my favorite scene sequence in the episode was the you know, Mando finding Ahsoka in the forest. We get to see that his Beskar blocks the lightsaber blades, which is super cool to see. Um, we get the whole interaction between Grogu and Ahsoka, where they're like communicating telepathically somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the training that or the testing that Ahsoka does with the rock, and then the little, he won't Grogu won't use the Force with Ahsoka, but he'll use it with Din or with Mando. So anyway, I thought the same thing. So he's 50 years old right now. He was raised and trained at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. So I know we keep doing this trying to do the math, but I'm like, okay, so he was even younger than what he is now when he was being trained.
Uh-huh.
And then, yeah, this your background, the scene of Anakin coming in to
Say hello to the younglings.
yeah, purge the Jedi Order, including the younglings. Somebody had the foresight to either hide Grogu or hide and come back for him later, or to just take him and help him escape. But that seems strange to me because if somebody had that foresight, why wouldn't they try to save the other youngling? Why are they only saving Grogu from the Jedi Temple? Unless Grogu was already hiding or just Anakin couldn't find him. Because I assume if Grogu is special enough to be saved from the Jedi Temple, Anakin knew about him.
Is Grogu the offspring of Yoda and Yaddle?
And why does Ahsoka say she's only known one other of this species, Jedi Master Yoda? And I said, and what about Yaddle? Wouldn't Ahsoka know Yaddle as well? Come on,
Okay,
Ahsoka.
so Yaddle is only in episode 1. She dies in between episode 1 and 2.
Oh, she does.
Uh-huh. And Ahsoka doesn't come in until, I don't know, a month or a year after the end of episode 2.
Yeah, between 2 and 3.
But I'm sure she would have known of Yaddle on the Jedi Council. I mean, she was a Padawan.
But I guess her statement checks out though. That maybe she only ever met Yoda personally. Okay. Well, anyway.
It's so many questions brought up, and I like what you said. Like, I would assume that Grogu was either not on world when Order 66 happened, or someone came and saved him. And who that person is a whole nother miniseries. Disney Plus is putting out a whole new miniseries.
Yeah. Well, the next series is going to be just called Grogu, and it's just going to be a flashback of the time episode 3 timeline, but from the perspective of Grogu.
How much smaller would he be? I mean, that was, I don't know what the math is, but I'm going to say 30, well, not 30,
Yeah.
20 years, right?
I want to say it's at least 25 to 30 years earlier than what we're seeing right now. So he'd be in his early 20s, maybe. Anyway, I do think it raises a lot of questions. Okay, so he was trained, he began his training, but he started to suppress his abilities to survive.
Because to hide himself from the Empire.
Yes, which I thought was interesting. So some of his powers are like it's almost like he's repressed them, and so maybe that's why he doesn't use them as much as we think he could be or should be using them.
Isn't that similar to what we learned about Cal Kestis in Fallen Order?
I thought the same thing. That's exactly what the story in Fallen Order is. That Cal has repressed those memories and the memories of his training, but as he deals with the emotional baggage of those things, those abilities come back to him and he remembers the training and can use the Force again.
Yeah.
The other thing I thought was interesting was Ahsoka's reasoning for not wanting to train Grogu because of his attachment to Mando.
I don't understand. I don't understand this ever. I've never understood it. I never understood it with little boy Anakin. I don't understand this.
Yeah. I, to me, it's like, how many times are we going to go down this path? It happens in Last Jedi, where Luke doesn't want to train Rey. Jedi Masters never want to train anybody. Nobody, we can't train anybody. We're done training. It's too risky to train anybody. When I'm like, 50 years ago, you guys were taking children away from their families left and right and training up armies of Jedi Knights. And now, no,
and,
we can't
and
train it.
Ahsoka's like, oh, this is the first Force user I've seen in how many years? Eh, get him away from me.
Yeah, obviously that's supposed to like tug at our heartstrings that Ahsoka's like, I've seen what it can, what that attachment and vulnerability and anger can do to a fully trained Jedi Knight. And I was like, not a Jedi Master, just a Jedi Knight.
Take a seat.
She,
Skywalker.
I mean, you could see it on Ahsoka's face. She wanted to tell Mando, a little bit of trivia for you. This Jedi Knight I'm talking about, he actually was on the Jedi Council, but he was not granted the rank of Master. That's just a little trivia for you.
And it's never been done ever in the history of the Jedi Council.
Right. But she held it back. She realized he wasn't going to understand all that. She just had to let it go.
I just don't like the reasoning either.
But yeah, so it's like, okay, the best, he was the best of us and he fell, all this stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, I get it, but like, come on. The Jedi Order is.
But yet she's telling him to go to this stone to find a Jedi to train him.
Well, I guess it kind of makes sense too, though, because she does not consider herself part of the Jedi Order.
That's true.
She was exiled from the Jedi Order and she never came back.
Mm-hmm.
Even when offered a position back with the Order, she declined. So, I don't know. First of all, I think outside of the actual in-world story, it makes sense logistically for the show. You can't have Grogu go with Ahsoka because it ruins the show.
Yeah.
It splits Mando and Grogu, which is the central relationship of the series.
Like when Michael Scott left The Office.
Right. So if you have Grogu go with Ahsoka, all of a sudden you're going to have to run two different series basically in the same show of a plot line of what's Mando doing and then what's Ahsoka and Grogu doing, and it's going to be separate. It makes it too messy.
And there's no way Ahsoka was going to join the team.
Yeah. So that's why I felt that was one of the main reasons I said last week that I thought she wasn't going to be interested in keeping the child. Because I'm like, it doesn't make sense for the show for that to be the plot line, the course that we take. Um, but yeah, so the reasoning I thought was kind of like, all right, it's trying to give us a little Easter egg, obviously tied back to Anakin. But I agree with you. It seems like this is becoming too often used by Jedi in a position of training a youngling or somebody that needs training. It's like nobody wants to do it. Like, okay,
Okay.
someone's got to start training people. And thankfully, our boy Luke is going to do it. And then it's going to all just come crashing down because he did not do it right. All right.
He did not do it very well.
Because he went to
Um,
his
let's
nephew's hut at night and tried to murder him in cold blood because he had a bad dream or something. I don't remember the details, but a little bit of an overreaction, Luke.
Ben, no! I'm just standing over you with my lightsaber ignited. No, don't defend yourself. Um, let's talk about a Star Wars trope I saw today. Whenever you look through binoculars or any sort of uh, far away seeing thing, someone's going to come up from behind you and scare the poop out of you. Because it gets me every time. I'm like, dang it, they got me again. I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, no, you
Um,
could totally see that coming for sure.
why are they never watching Grogu? He was in, so they went and saved the town, right? Cool fight scene, very cool Western, and also Japanese shogun sort of like the swaying lights and stuff. I was like, this is so cool. Um, but oh, Grogu was left back in the ship. As soon as they said that, I was like, oh, uh, Moff Gideon has come, used his tracking device, and has the baby. So,
I thought the same thing. Obviously, Mando doesn't know that the Razor Crest
right.
has a tracking device on it. And so I can't fault Mando, I guess, for thinking Grogu will be safer on the ship locked down than he would be
In my
coming into
knapsack.
this town and into the middle of this battle we're about to engage in. But we saw in chapter 1, chapter 2 of season 1 that that ship can be sitting in lockdown and a group of Jawas can come by and strip that thing in 15 minutes. And we can see what a gaggle of spiders can do to that thing, just rip it apart. I'm like, I'm not sure the Razor Crest is that safe for on any planet. Any little creature or animal can tear that ship apart. I
uh,
you, I thought the same thing. I'm like, that whole time the child was back in the ship. I thought he was in the little knapsack the whole time on the hip. I was like, oh, I guess he's along for the ride on this thing here, this battle. But nope. I do have a lot of thoughts though about this little town and the magistrate and the aesthetic, as you said. Dave Filoni was involved in another series and show that you can stream right now on Netflix called Avatar: The Last Airbender, and this town was like a ripoff of the Earth Kingdom from that show. It was literally identical.
oh, really? I haven't
Yes,
seen the show.
the Asian influence, first of all, obviously, but then the fact that like the color of the whole town is green, and that's the same thing in the show. And in that show, the capital of the Earth Kingdom is like there are walls and inner walls where the farther out you are, the poorer you are, and then the inner the high class of the society live in the center, and it's like all beautiful and like tons of space and resources and stuff, but outside in the outer ring of the city everyone's impoverished. And I was like, this is literally, you cannot deny that it's the exact same idea, which maybe is just an homage to the show that he used to work on.
Yeah.
But it was a little bit distracting to me because I literally just watched that show. And so it's fresh in my mind. And I was like, this feels an awful lot like Avatar. But anyway, small nitpick. But I did like everything that happened leading up until the point that Ahsoka and the magistrate start their duel. At that point, the whole thing falls apart to me because I've just seen Ahsoka in the intro using the Force, like a cloak and dagger coming in and out in the fog, easily handling this squadron, battalion, whatever you want to call it, group of soldiers. And then she starts to duel with this magistrate that has a Beskar staff. And the magistrate is almost getting the upper hand on Ahsoka. It makes no sense.
Yeah,
It
that's
makes
true.
absolutely no sense that I'm like, what happened to your force powers? Like, can't you like force push this lady, grab the staff out of her grip with the force, do anything other than trying to fight with the lightsabers? It just, for some reason, um, it was difficult for me not to be distracted by that and
It
feel
always
like,
seems like whenever Jedi's are in a lightsaber battle, they seem to forget that they have force powers as well. I mean, there are some instances where they do use it, like Darth Vader against Luke Skywalker and Sidious versus Yoda. But even Darth Maul, all he does is he picks up a box and throws it at a wall to open up a door. I mean, Ahsoka, jump over her, do your little crazy little cool move.
and what's interesting is that in those instances, those characters that you just gave as examples are always fighting and or dueling other force users.
Yep.
In this case, there is no inclination or no evidence that the magistrate is a force user. So I don't understand. I understand that Ahsoka wasn't interested in killing her because she needed information,
Uh huh.
but I'm like, this should have been much easier for you to disarm this person type of
And
thing.
what is it about? Okay, first of all, do we learn that lightsabers float? Was that thing floating in the water? And second of all, oh, my lightsaber got thrown over there. I don't know. Force pull it back. Like, geez Louise.
I would have thought that before it even hit the water and sank down, she could have just pulled it right back. Like, am I misunderstanding how the Force, insert clip of Han Solo saying to Finn on Starkiller Base, that's not how the Force works.
Obi-Wan tosses Anakin his lightsaber when they fight Dooku, and Anakin becomes a double wielder. And then how does he get Obi-Wan's on the capital ship? Where he's no, he disarms Dooku and catches Dooku's and has both. He doesn't get Obi-Wan's.
I mean, Kylo Ren literally cuts in half Supreme Leader Snoke and then floats that lightsaber all the way to Rey's hand. Like Luke pulls his lightsaber out of the icy snow on Hoth in the Wampa's cave. The this should not be an advanced technique of force wielding to be able to pull your lightsaber back to you. But other than that, I really love Ahsoka. She's great.
Yeah, I really liked her too. And Abby, I feel like really enjoyed when Ahsoka went into her stance where she held the lightsaber. I don't even know what the stance is called, but she held it backhanded. So it was, Abby was like, oh yeah, that's the Ahsoka.
Yeah. No, I mean, those are all nitpicky things that I brought up, but yeah, that duel specifically with the magistrate, I thought it took too long. They were like sizing each other up too much, and I'm like, Ahsoka should have already sized up the situation and realized she clearly has the advantage. But they were like sizing each other up and dueling, and I was like, this seems unnecessary.
Yeah. Um, I think that's all the questions I have. We get a little teaser about Thrawn. We've talked about Thrawn. For those of you who don't know and may appreciate, Thrawn is a character from Legends who was wiped away when Disney bought Lucasfilm. Brought back, though, in the show Rebels. He is a blue man of the Chiss species who are like super. I guess Chiss children are very good at hyperspace and detecting hyperspace lanes. And he is a expert strategist. He knows exactly what to do in any sort of battle. We see him in Rebels, but he is ejected into the unknown regions with Ezra Bridger at the end of Rebels. And like we said before, Ahsoka has been looking for Ezra, and so we assume when she says, "Who's your master?" It looks like the magistrate was trying to get resources to then give to Thrawn, right, Sean? Am I safe in assuming?
Yeah.
So is this different than the First Order? Is this different than the current Empire? Is this a third faction we're worried about now?
I think that this is becoming a problem for Lucasfilm, that there's too many unknowns with, pun intended, I guess, the unknown regions and who's out there, what are the factions, what's going on. I guess I understand it could be as simplified as with the empire, with the emperor's death, the empire became fractured. And
He
there
ain't
are,
dead. He ain't dead.
well, he's dead. It's just they have a clone of him somewhere, or he's being cloned currently. We don't know what that timeline is either. But I mean, so I guess I can just keep living in this world of knowing, all right, it fractured and there are factions, competing factions, and I can just leave it at that. But my brain works that I want to know, well, who's who and how are they connected and which one of these is leading to the First Order, or are these people aware of the First Order? Because I got the feeling in Rise of Skywalker that the First Order is not connected to the Final Order.
Right, right. I agree with you.
And so how does the Final Order come into play? How did Palpatine build all of those Star Destroyers? If it was just him and those weird Sith acolyte people on Exegol. Anyway, this is not an episode about Rise of Skywalker.
I just feel like I agree. I feel like the unknown regions has become this catch-all, or just like, oh, we don't want to deal with that problem right now. It's the unknown regions. Like it's just too convenient.
Question about speculation for the rest of this season. We have 3 episodes left. In which episode do you think we will make it to the ruins of this Jedi temple that Ahsoka has told Mando about and place Grogu on the Seer Stone?
Not the next episode. The next episode, we're going back to Tatooine or Navarro.
No. Please don't go back to Tatooine. See, that's the thing. If they go back to like try to tie in Boba Fett in by the end of the season, I'm like, too much time has passed since episode 1, the Marshal, chapter 9, I guess that was. I'm like, now you just need to leave that alone till next season if you're going to do anything with that.
So, what was the 6th episode of last season? Because I feel like
I think it was that prison break episode.
Oh yeah, so it was another one-off episode. I think we're going to have, so not the next episode. I think it will be 7, and then 8 we meet the Jedi that comes for him.
So you think we'll meet the Jedi that comes for him? See, okay.
I don't know. I mean, where does Moff Gideon fit into all of this?
That's what I'm saying. Because how are you going, unless this ruins of this ancient Jedi temple is the location of the season finale, where all things converge and the Jedi that's going to sense Grogu and Moff Gideon both show up at the same time and we have this showdown there. But
is it going to be Luke? Is it going to be Leia?
So my question, the next speculative question is, who do you honestly think is going to be this Jedi that senses him?
This again. It could be Luke. It could be Leia. It could be Ezra. It could be Cal Kestis. He's not dead, right?
It could be Cal Kestis. You're totally right. I hadn't even thought about that. And that would be super easy to bring into live action because
the actor's already there.
In the video game is motion capture of an actual actor.
Uh-huh. It could be, I don't know, Rey's mom? I don't know. She's not a Jedi.
Yeah, no.
I'm just trying to throw out, I have no idea.
So I have seen speculation.
It could be
Maz Kanata. I've seen speculation on Twitter that people think this is Lucasfilm's chance to resurrect Mace Windu, bring Mace Windu back. That Mace Windu saved Grogu from the Jedi Temple after he was hurled out of the window of the Supreme Chancellor's office assumed dead, but clawed his way back to the temple and saved Grogu before Anakin showed up.
Okay, now that I'm thinking about this more, I ignored what you're saying about Mace Windu. And I was thinking about this. So I think for sure we're getting a Jedi, right? We're setting up for a Jedi's going to come. Any of the above answers excite me crazily. Is it Luke? Is it Leia? Is it, Ezra, Cal, uh, unknown Jedi? Anything excites me right now.
Okay, let me go through some of these, not to get too long-winded about it, but the speculation on these, I have to answer some of this stuff. If they're going to do someone between Luke and Leia, why would they do Leia? It makes no sense to do Leia because Luke is actually planning to start a Jedi temple and train Jedi. And Leia, as far as we know, does not want to be a Jedi.
I didn't say it was going to be Leia.
No, I'm just saying. But to follow the speculation, so I'm like, okay, so I think it would more likely be Luke. But even if it was Luke or Leia, I feel like that is so unlikely because they are literally the two biggest, most massive characters of the Star Wars franchise. They're bringing them into the Mandalorian. That is like,
because first of all, they'd have to de-age Mark Hamill or recast, and if it was Carrie Fisher Leia, then they'd either have to, they would have to recast or digitally spend millions of dollars and put her face on someone.
yeah. So I feel like that. I already feel like we've talked at length how those legacy characters were like a black hole in the gravitational pull of the sequel trilogy. That as soon as you introduce those people, everything else, because of the hype, everything else gets overshadowed.
Room. Yes.
Yeah, they get overshadowed. So if you have Luke Skywalker showing up in the season 2 finale of The Mandalorian, this is no longer The Mandalorian. This is a Disney Plus show about Luke starting his Jedi Academy.
Yeah.
That's all anybody will want to see. And it's like, well, now you've just completely overshadowed Mando.
Okay, so I think we have a good
Luke.
case against those two.
Yeah, I think it's a good case against Luke or Leia. I think Ezra would be interesting.
We did have that guy. Do you remember that guy on Twitter a month or two ago who got in trouble because he was talking about how he was getting into Ezra Bridger's shape?
Yeah,
I do. People were like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, nothing." And then he was like, "It was all a joke, guys."
Yeah.
Him.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think the case against Ezra is what we've already discussed, which is would the Mandalorian would then just become a live action version of
Rebels.
The Rebels sequel?
Yeah.
Now you have Ahsoka and Ezra, which would lead people to ask, well, where's Sabine? And so Sabine's in there, and let's bring Chopper in, and where's Jason Syndulla, and where's Hera? Like all this stuff, it'd just be, it's just a can of worms that you open. So that's my case against Ezra, which then leads me to believe, I guess it could be Cal Kestis. That would be another bonkers choice. Like, whoa, now there's nothing is off limits. We're bringing in video game characters now into the live action. So I think all of those are unlikely. I think it'll be someone we're not thinking of. Possibly someone we've never even heard of before, like a completely new character that is not part of canon currently. Anyway. And the other question I have is, could this Jedi potentially be the same Jedi that saved him from the Jedi Temple? And maybe that Jedi saved Grogu and then went into hiding, similar to Obi-Wan and Yoda, got the transmission, the hologram from the security files in the Jedi Temple that Obi-Wan said, don't come back to the temple on Coruscant. Anyway.
What if no Jedi shows up?
What if it's just Moff Gideon shows up? What if it's what if it's a Sith? You know, it could. What if it's one of Palpatine's clones?
Yep.
What if it's Rey's dad?
Yep.
So I mean, it could be anything. So yeah, I guess I just
What if
talked
it's
myself
Broom
up.
Kid?
What if it's Broom Kid?
We
So true. It could be Broom
don't
Kid.
know how fast he ages. He could be a weird species.
Very true. Nothing's off the table. But I think, yeah, I mean,
Honestly, because of what you said about anyone who shows up completely changes the whole narrative of the whole rest of the show, because we are getting a season 3 that's been confirmed. I am leaning towards no Jedi shows up, and Mando's like, "Well, I guess it's on me."
yeah. I mean, at this point, the way the show has gone and the audience reaction and attachment to the show, to me, it's too early, even in season 3, to consider breaking up Mando and Grogu,
Mm-hmm.
Mando and the child. Um, it just seems like they need to stay together for the success of the show.
Oh yeah, yeah, of course.
That's the compelling relationship. But I am curious now to see how does Moff Gideon play into this? And if he's building his dark troopers, is he showing up at that Jedi temple? And Mando would at that point hope a Jedi shows up so that that Jedi can help them against Moff
So
Gideon.
many interesting questions. When we heard about from the smelter, what was her name in season 1?
The armorer.
The armorer, when she said take him to the Jedi, we all assumed, well, I guess not right away, but we all kind of agreed, like, it must be Ahsoka she's talking about. And now that we've had Ahsoka, and Ahsoka's not doing anything with the kid, now we're like, okay, but yet we're going to have another Jedi come in. It's a very interesting new can of worms that have been opened where I have no idea what's going to happen.
Because it could be that this this sensing that's going to take place on this seer stone is maybe a much more abstract concept than we're understanding right now, and it's not just that any Jedi in the galaxy is going to be able to sense it, but maybe a Jedi that has a special connection to Grogu, or it maybe Luke won't be able to sense him because it's not just like a reach out and every force wielder user can now feel this presence, but it's more of a who has this special connection through the force to Grogu.
Oh boy.
Never know. But I feel like I hope that there is a Jedi because I think we need to see Moff Gideon with the dark saber dueling a Jedi with a lightsaber.
Oh yeah, I think that's what we're setting up for, right?
But if no Jedi shows up on the at this season finale that we're predicting,
It's Beskar versus Darksaber, I guess.
I guess he has that staff now. He could use the staff.
Yeah, the Phasma staff.
Yeah. Even though I would smelt that down and use that for something else.
Yeah, what I feel like the staff does not play to his fighting skills.
Yeah, he's got too many other gadgets and gizmos to be worried about a melee weapon.
Uh,
Anyway,
a great episode. Obviously, not a filler episode. Exactly the episode we were hoping for, and we got it. And one that was fun in that introduced so many different questions, brought back so many prequel references. Did you catch the Yoda theme when they were talking about Yoda?
I did. And I also felt like at the very end, when Ahsoka was telling him about the Jedi Temple, that kind of leitmotif came back again very subtly, and it sounded like Luke or Yoda's theme from Dagobah. That I'm like, it just a few of the notes, and then it would kind of morph back into the Mandalorian theme. But yeah, I noticed that. I'm like, it's almost going into the John Williams soundtrack, but then it would bring it back to
Yeah.
Mando, but then it would go back in just a little bit. You're like, is it? I recognize this little few measures of music here, which again makes you think that it's going to be like someone we know, like Luke. But that would be insane. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way.
I agree. It's not Luke. Let's change gears a little bit. In other news, they erased the Blue Jeans guy in the last episode. He
Yeah,
gone.
I think that's probably the best move. Carl Weathers probably was calling Jon Favreau like, "This is the biggest embarrassment of my career. Get this jeans guy off of my directed episode."
Directorial debut, and I have a action figure made of a guy's side, torso, and leg. In other news, Sean, did you watch? And secondary question, did you stay awake for the Lego Holiday Special?
Listen, you're trying to get at me, and I told you that in confidence that I fell asleep during the holiday special. I started the Lego holiday special at like 9:30 at night. It wasn't that late for me. It's only 50 minutes. I got half an hour into that thing and I was out and I woke up on my couch at like 1:30 in the morning. And I'm like, I don't know what just happened. I don't know what happened.
I know you had texted me saying, "Hey, I'm starting the Lego special." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then the next morning, like, "Yo, I fell asleep."
Yeah. Yeah.
But I will come clean and also say I also fell asleep. I still do not know what happens at the end of that movie. But more embarrassingly, I fell asleep at 5:30 in the afternoon. So
Oh, really? Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I might pop it on tonight and just watch the last 20 minutes of it. I didn't fall asleep because I thought it was bad. I'm like, this is fine. I don't know what my excuse is, but I could not stay awake.
well, maybe next week we'll talk about that because we got a. I'm sure we've got a filler episode next week, so we can talk more about the Lego Holiday Special.
Yeah. But we want to hear what you guys think about Chapter 13, the Jedi. So many questions that you can answer that we want to hear your thoughts on. We want to hear your thoughts on, will we see Ahsoka anymore in The Mandalorian? Will we have more spin-off shows on Disney Plus? Who saved Grogu from the Jedi Temple
Maybe
during
it
the...
was Anakin.
Maybe it was Anakin. We didn't talk about that possibility. So who do you think saved him? But one of my bigger questions, to me, the biggest question left for the season now, the most intriguing question is, will a Jedi show up when they place Grogu on the Seer Stone in the ruins of the Jedi Temple on Thyron, or I don't know what the planet's called? And if so, who is that going to be? Who is going to sense Grogu and show up?
I got one for you. Sith Master Jar Jar Binks.
Yes.
Put that on your Dad's Dagobah bingo card. Bingo!
Darth Jar Jar.
Because canonically, I don't think he's dead yet.
Oh, well, I mean, he has cheated death. He's unlocked the power to immortality.
Well, with that, Sean, let's end the episode before we get too far down another rabbit hole.
Yeah. But this was a good one. It's been a great episode. Lots of questions. Please like the video if you enjoyed the conversation today. Leave a comment on what you think about those things we talked about. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so you can get alerts on these weekly episodes that we're now doing. And until next time, Joseph, we have spoken.
This is the way.
And we'll see you next time on Dads of Dagobah.
Ah.
Bye.
My name's Grogu.